Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarobhyasya kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anakotinta Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, assembled devotees ki jai. Thank you everyone for joining today's Chaitanya Bhagavat class. May I know who all joined this morning?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, so glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharajas and all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Haridas and Haridas.
Hare Krishna, Kitida Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving us sweet association. Welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am Dr. Karpagalli from Kanyakumari district, Mataji, from Kanyakumari district.
Hare Krishna, Dr.
Karpagalli Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Karpagalli.
Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your association. I saw you yesterday also on the call. Welcome, Mataji. Thank you so much. Give your association every single day.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyama Gauri Devidasi from Shanti.
Hare Krishna, Shyama Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining every single day and chanting so beautifully in early morning and mid morning. Mataji, welcome to the call.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashomati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yashomati Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining early morning, mid morning, chanting so beautifully. Welcome to the call. Hare Krishna, is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai, Vrinda. Thank you for sending Srila Prabhupada Amrita class. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda Gopika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining every single day and chanting so beautifully. Welcome to the call. So we will start the recording. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Before we start our call, we usually read Srila Prabhupada quote for today. Srila Prabhupada quote for today is 15th February, the unhulled rice and the empty husks of rice look very much the same. One who knows how to get the grain out of the unhulled rice is wise, but one who beats on the empty husk, thinking to get some result, is simply wasting his labor uselessly. Similarly, if one studies the Vedas without finding the goal of Vedas, Krishna, he is simply wasting his valuable time. February 15, 1970, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Haridas Varya Prabhu to enlighten us on the topic of Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Khanda, 16th chapter, verses 213 to 235. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhu, for your valuable time on a session. After a long time, we were missing your classes. Welcome back. Hare Krishna, over to you, Prabhuji, the call. Hare Bol.
Haribol, thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, for the kind words. Am I audible? Just wanted to do a sound check.
Yes, Prabhuji, perfect.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Very happy to be back. I had almost kind of lost my voice due to fever and cough and pain, but happy to be back speaking. Happy to be back to share realizations and get enlightening from senior God brothers, God sisters, and Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are assembled here. So my humble obeisances to one and all who are assembled and taken out the time today. Very, very happy to be amongst all of you. Special thanks to Priti Vilasini Mataji, Shyam Gauri Mataji, and everyone who has been constantly encouraging, bombarding my texts. Very happy to see always their messages to call me back and speak about the beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Bhagavat, everything. So very happy today we have a very wonderful topic to speak on the 16th of chapter. So before that, we would just do the Mangalacharan, pray for invocation, specifically need blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas so that my voice and my speech is purified and is inspiring to myself and also to everyone who is hearing this. And let Krishna bless us with pure devotional service. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurudmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Udapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinavando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to the Chaitanya Bhagavat class. We have been seeing in a series of lectures of Chaitanya Bhagavat, we have reached the 16th chapter, the penultimate chapter. And in that, we are traversing through the journey of Haridas Thakur, the glorifications of Haridas Thakur. And specifically, we are going to look at today the verses from 213 to 236. There are a lot of verses and there are a lot of deep meanings. But specifically, as the story goes, we will look at some of these verses in depth so that it is very useful for us from a devotional aspect. What is the hidden message which is being sent across through these verses. So let's look at these verses. First, text 213 to 218, 5 verses are clubbed together. In fact, 6 verses are clubbed together. So let's just see them. Ara eka danga vipra taki sei khane, muniyo nachimo aji gane mane mane, bhuji lana nachi leya bhoda bhara bhare, alpa manushya re o parama bhakti kare, eta bhavi sei kshane achada khaya, padilaya he namaha acheshtaya. Yei matra padila dan kera nitya sthane, marite lagila danka maha krodha mane, ashe pashe gare mude, vere vetrera prahar, nirgata maraya danka rakshana hiyar, vetrera pahare dvija jara jara haya, bapa bapa boli seshe, gela palaya. So this is a very wonderful um, uh, pastime which is happening out here. And let's read the translation and we will look at the meaning. So, one pseudo Brahmana who was in the audience thought, I will also dance today. Even an illiterate fool who dances like he is in ecstasy is greatly respected by common people. Thinking in this way, he immediately crashed to the ground and became motionless. As soon as the pseudo Brahmana fell near the dancing snake charmer, the snake charmer became angry and began severely beating the Brahmana with a stick. After being beaten with a stick all over the body, the anguished Brahmana ran away screaming, Bappa, Bappa, Father, Father. So he started calling his parents' name and say, save me, and he ran away. So there's a very nice narration of the dancing party that is going on. Everybody is dancing. There is a snake charmer in the audience who is dancing. Just next to him is a materialistic person who acts as a pseudo Brahmana. And he started thinking that if I dance in a particular way, like how Haridas Thakur dances, Haridas Thakur dances in great ecstasy, and he forgets all that is happening around him. But this pseudo Brahmana thinks that if I also dance like this, imitating this way, then what happens? Then all the people will think I am a very great personality. I have a lot of devotion in my heart. So for this pratishtha, this fame, and for the want of this attention, he was thinking, this pseudo Brahmana was thinking that anybody can dance in ecstasy. This was his thought process. What is he specifically thinking? He is thinking that even an illiterate fool, if he dances in ecstasy, what happens? Respect is given by common people. His thought process is that the common people generally do not do a lot of scrutiny, or they are very afraid of committing a mistake or an aparadh, and hence they would not try to dwell deep into the subject matter and find out who is real and who is unreal. So they will not try to do this. So he wanted to take an opportunity to dance like Haridas Thakur, show imitation, and try to get respect. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions here what happened. What was the inner mood of the person? What was the quality of this person who was thinking in this way and wanted to imitate Haridas Thakur? And what happened to him? There was a snake charmer who caught this mistake and who caught this unruly behavior of this pseudo Brahmana, took out his stick, started beating him left, right, and center, and gave him a lot of bruises all over his body, so much so that this person had to run away, calling out his parents' name, hoping that they will come and save him. So this is the small pastime in these 6 verses that is being mentioned. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gives a beautiful commentary where he gives many words, which is very important for us to notice. So let's just quickly read the commentary. So here it says the word dhanga vipra, dhonga vipra, it's also called dhonga, refers to that pseudo Brahmana who was hypocritical. Please note the words used by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He is an excellent speaker of the language of English. And he uses words which are very to the point. In fact, he is known for such an articulate way of writing and also presenting the Vedic literature. In fact, only last week we celebrated his appearance. So it's only just to speak about his immaculate way of using English for the right purpose. So let's see what all words he uses. He uses hypocritical, deceitful, cheating, artificial, imitative. So these are the 5 qualities that he uses for the Brahmana. That he was hypocritical, that he used to say something, act something different. He was deceitful. That means he had a cheating mentality and he was deceit. He always wanted to cheat people. He was, of course, practically cheating as well. He was artificial. That means he was making up his emotions. It was not real. It was not buoyant deep in the heart. And it was just an imitation. And this is Prakarta Sahajiya and lowest of the Brahmanas. So this word is pretty heavy, Sahajiya. Sahajiya means that one who takes things very cheaply. So there are great emotions or bhavas or rasas in the devotional plane, which are experienced by pure devotees. But certain others, they take these emotions to be very cheap or they take it to be material in nature. They believe that they also can artificially imitate and enjoy these transcendental ecstatic symptoms or mood. So this is called Sahajiya. Sahajiya also means that one has deep-rooted material intentions in the heart, but outside they showcase a lot of activities which are very much in pure devotion. So here, the Pseudo Brahmana is being compared as the lowest amongst the Brahmanas and Prakrita Sahajiya. And why it is so? Because he had all these qualities. Along with that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, he also had pride. Being puffed up with pride of being a Brahmana and being induced by his polluted intelligence. So 5 of those plus 6 pride plus 7 polluted intelligence. That pseudo Brahmana tried to artificially imitate the transcendental characteristics of Bhagavata Vaishnava Thakura Haridasa. And what was he thinking? He was thinking, due to their blind faith, whenever ordinary foolish people see or hear any dancing or singing in a petty religious function. First of all, he thought this function was a very small function, petty religious function. Second, he thought all these Vaishnavas who are dancing in the assembly and all others who are dancing in this assembly are illiterate, are not really knowledgeable. That means he was taking the pride that he is a Brahmana, knowledgeable person, and others are not. Whereas they were experiencing ecstatic symptoms and they were dancing with their pure heart. Therefore, since people offered all respects to Haridas Thakur, and number 3, he is undermining Haridas Thakur as an ordinary Vaishnava, who is an ordinary human being born in a non-Hindu family. 4, he is again taking his pride as a Brahmana, and he is seeing that Haridas Thakur is not born and brought up in a Brahmanical family. So, with his pride of being a Brahmana and seeing that Haridas Thakur is not born in a Brahmanical family and seems to be illiterate and is dancing like a madman, he is not understood by people. But I have many other qualities more than him, so why can't I do so? In this puffed up intelligence, in this false, polluted intelligence, he started dancing and imitating Haridas Thakur. So there is a very great learning that we learn here. That there are many learnings that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur like to give, but I would like to focus on a couple of things. And mainly, I would like to focus on this topic of duplicity or deceitfulness, which is prevalent in the society today. And in fact, even in a devotee's life, one has to be very, very careful of staying away from duplicity. How do we define duplicity? Duplicity is very simply defined as we are duplicitous before Krishna, or we want to pretend something else before Krishna. Before Krishna, we want to say, Krishna, I love you very much. But in our heart of hearts, if one is interested to enjoy material activities, material sense gratification away from Krishna, that is called as duplicit nature. Krishna says this very beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita shloka in the 3rd chapter, 6th verse. He talks about pretension or pretentiousness. What is the shloka? Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaram indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyachara uchyate. He says in this verse very nicely that one who restrains the senses of action is considered great, but then whose mind dwells on sense objects certainly deludes himself as and is called as a pretender. Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyachara usyate. He restrains his sense of action, but his mind is always dwelling on the sense of objects. So that means the mind always wants to enjoy. So such a person is called as pretender, or such a person has a duplicit nature. And what do these people do? Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of that verse very nicely in Bhagavad Gita, that they refuse. They clearly refuse to work in Krishna consciousness. So when the camera is on, when the people are around, they will act in a very nice way. But in the heart of hearts, they are not interested in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada says there are many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna consciousness, but make a show of meditation, while their mind is actually always on sense enjoyment. And what do? They will speak a lot of dry philosophy. They will bluff. They will tell, and they will form a big, sophisticated society. And people will think that they are very, very sophisticated and advanced. But as per this verse, Srila Prabhupada mentions that these are the biggest cheaters. Why? Because cheaters can go up to any extent in the social order. In the Nectar of Devotion, the 1st chapter, Srila Prabhupada mentions very beautifully the qualities of pure devotional service. In that, in one of the purports, he writes, many people who act to be in pretentious, I'm quoting it in a way, that who are pretentious in nature, they would swing away from this devotional path and would enter into politics and many other material activities just to get Nam, Pratishta, etc. And he, in a kind, mentions that these were also pretenders. Srimad Bhagavatam cannot be accessed by those who are pretentious in their nature, because Srimad Bhagavatam can be only accessed by those who are nirmatsaranam, who are non-envious and who are free and devoid of enviousness and pretentiousness and duplicit behavior. So it is very much emphasized here that duplicity is not accepted in Vaishnava culture. In fact, it is one of the greatest poison that a sadhaka can feed himself to kill his devotional service. Duplicity is absolutely not accepted. Once devotees asked His Holiness Srimad Gaur Govinda Swami, when he was coming out of the Bhubaneswar temple, he was walking down the stairs. Devotees asked him, what is the real reason of duplicity? He said, flattery. When people flatter each other, that means that they need something, and this flattery means to having an intent to get something out of some person. Very nicely he said, when people flatter, when they say, oh, you are so and so, you have so many good qualities, and they really do not mean it because they want to get some good things out of the audience who are present there, then that is called as duplicit nature. It is not genuine appreciation. Genuine appreciation we see only amongst devotees in the purest form, where there is no sense of want of any naam, pratishtha, fame, and they genuinely want to appreciate other devotees. So the devotee asked Srimad Gaur Govind Swami, so what is the best way to come out of it? And Sri Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj said, the best way is to understand is simplicity, the straight opposite quality to duplicity. So in fact, in the one of the Caitanya Charitamrita, Ante Leela 2.117, and I would like to quote that here. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself says this very beautifully. In the Ante Leela, he says, Prabhu kahe vairagi kare prakriti sambhashana, dekhite na paro namita harabadana. He says, the Lord replied, I cannot tolerate seeing the face of a person who has accepted the renounced order of life, but who still talks intimately with a woman. So here, women bashing is not being spoken about. Here it is being spoken about deceitful nature. One who is under the renounced order of life should be away from the association of women. But when the Lord sees that there is a duplicity, that means there is still an interest to sense gratify with the opposite sex, the Lord feels that he cannot tolerate seeing the face of the person. So in the purport, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments, Saralata or simplicity is the first qualification of a Vaishnava. And this is straight opposite to duplicity. So if somebody forms duplicit nature as the first quality of a Vaishnava, then simplicity is lost. And when simplicity is lost, the first ornament of a Vaishnava is lost. The main ornament, the cornerstone ornament of Vaishnava is simplicity. Because simplicity means there is no cunning behavior, and duplicity means there is a cunning behavior. And it is a great offense against the principles of devotional service. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, as one advances in Krishna consciousness, one must gradually become disguised with material attachment, disgusted with material attachment, and thus become more and more attached to the service of the Lord. If one is not factually detached from material activities, but still proclaim himself advanced in devotional service, then he is cheating. That means we cannot keep our legs in both the boats. It is inversely proportional. Either we will grow spiritually, or when we grow spiritually, our material attachments will come down. There is no such case where both of them are going to increase exponentially, where we are doing material attachments also and our spiritual life is also growing. This is not possible. In fact, this was asked to Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj, why this is not possible? Why can't I maintain 20% of sense gratification and 80% of Krishna consciousness? Why can't there be a balance? Why can't be 50% sense gratification and 50% of spiritual life? Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj gave a very nice answer. He said that our enthusiasm is 100%. And when our enthusiasm gets split into 50-50, 50% into material attachments and sense gratification, and 50% into spiritual activities, then what happens is that this 50% is so alluring that it will eat up the other 50 also. And then we are deceiving ourselves, because when we are going to Krishna, we are going only with 50%, whereas Krishna wants 100%. Nobody goes to an examination to get 50% of the marks. The goal is always to reach 100%. So in these verses, it is very clear that one of the first things that we should ensure is we should develop a mood of simplicity. Without simplicity, we cannot expect to attract Krishna. This is very, very important. We should not be fair at face and foul at heart. This is one of the worst behaviors in a sadhaka's life. In front of our spiritual masters, we should be very clear. We should not tell lies. We should not try to protect our image. We should tell the truth. We should tell our difficulties. We should be fair at face, fair at heart. And if there is some hot sauce which is given, we should accept it. And we should correct ourselves. So this is what is being mentioned in this verse. In these 6 verses, duplicity is, and in fact, the whole pastime up to the 36th verse is talking about how we should overcome this duplicit nature. We'll take some specific examples, but keeping the purport short, considering we have a lot of verses to go, let's go ahead and churn this subject a little bit more. Tabedanka nija sukhe nachila vistara, sabara janmila bada vismayantara. Thereafter, the snake charmer happily continued on with his dance as everyone there watched in astonishment. Later, they all folded their hands and asked the snake charmer. So as this person, pseudo Brahmana, was beaten black and blue and he ran away, then the snake charmer continued his dance very nicely. It's because he saw that, this person who was imitating actually ran away. And he was continuing his dancing. But other people were shocked. They all folded their hands and asked the snake charmer, please explain to us why you beat the Brahmana. Why did you take the stick and beat the Brahmana all over his body? Haridas nachite vayoda hasta kene rahila e saba kata kahata apane. And he says, and why did you stand aside? You showed the stick and hit him black and blue, whereas when Haridasa was dancing, you were folding your hands and you were standing aside with folded hands and looking at Haridas dance. So why this different behavior? Why is this difference of behavior? This is being asked. So this is another great learning, that people ask such questions when there is a difference of behavior. Whenever they feel it seems like an anomaly, it seems like it is not fitting. It seems like in a square peg, we are trying to put a circular puzzle. People should ask questions. Questions should be asked. Questions are the basis of devotional service. Questions, if they are not asked, then we cannot progress in devotional service. If Arjuna did not ask questions, we would not have Bhagavad Gita. If Parikshit Maharaj did not ask questions, we would not have Srimad Bhagavatam. If Yudhishthir Maharaj did not ask questions, we never would have had Bhishma Stuti. If Vidura and Maitreya were not asking questions and answers, we would have never got those tenets of Srimad Bhagavatam. If Vaishampayan was not asking questions, we never had Mahabharata. So questions are the very foundation of building devotional service. And as sadhaka, as observers, if we find any anomaly, we should ask questions. At the most, we will get satisfactory answer, or we will try to find a person who can give us the satisfactory answers. So this is very important for us to note. So they wanted to ask, why is this duplicit nature? Or why is this duplicity? Seems they don't know whether it was duplicit or not. They're asking the snake charmer. He's asking the snake charmer, why did you pick up the stick and hit? And at that time, a very beautiful action happens. Anand Sesh spoke through the mouth of the snake charmer, and he wanted to glorify Haridas. Hari Anant, Hari Kata Anant. So Anand Shesh is for time immemorial speaking about the glories of the devotees of the Lord as well as the glories of the Lord. So this was a very opportune moment where Lord Caitanya wanted the glories of Haridas Thakur to be spoken. So at that time, Anand Shesh entered the mouth of the snake charmer, saying the same biradri, the same community, snakes. So he entered the mouth, through the mouth of the snake charmer, he answered the questions which was being asked. But before we see the answers, we should take a couple of examples on this duplicit nature and why Ananshesh in particular is doing this activity here? Why all of a sudden Ananshesh has to speak through the mouth of snake charmer? These questions have to be very clearly understood. So for this, we should understand that anybody who takes great spiritual realizations cheaply are considered as Sahajiya. But are Gaudiya Vaishnavas Sahajiya? Srila Prabhupada says no. We are actually Adhokshajas, which is the opposite of Sahajiya. Sahajiya means taking things cheaply, taking spiritual things in material perception. Adhokshaja means we are understanding that Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's glories are beyond the sense of material understanding. In fact, they are sometimes bewildering. And approaching Krishna's pastimes, considering that they are not material in nature, makes the devotees as adhokshajas. So it is very important that we kill this duplicity which resides in our heart. It is very important that we take this duplicity out of our heart. Where do we see this example of duplicit behavior? We see this example in the many pastimes that Krishna does in Vrindavan. One of the pastimes that he does is of Bakasur. In fact, in the verse above, if you go to the verse above, sorry, I went a lot. Yeah, if you go to the verse above there, he mentions in a very nice way. Sorry, I think I went a lot. Let me go back. Just give me a second. Caitanya Bhagavata. Yes. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions about this quality of duplicitness, compares it with a word which I want to speak about. And it's an important verse which he speaks. He says, it's called as Bhagavata. He mentions here, when people respect an ordinary human being, yes. So as soon as the pseudo-Brahmana deceitfully exhibited artificial sentiments by which one is naturally bound to slip and fall, the snake charmer understood his deceitfulness and saw him as a disturbance and obstruction to his own dancing, and therefore began to beat him severely. So one of the pastimes that we see in Krishna's pastimes is Bhagavrata. So that is Bakasur, the crane or the duck incarnation, as we call. In fact, he is considered as one of the most trivial asuras who has visited Vrindavan. Putana visited, Trinavata visited, Aghasura visited, and so many demons came. But the acharyas, the gopis mention that Bakasura was the most trivial guy. Why was he trivial guy? If you look at the pastime, we see that Bakasura came and stood next to the Yamuna river as a crane. And crane is generally a depiction, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in his commentary, that crane in this pastime, Bakasura represents pretentiousness, or he represents duplicity or duplicitous behavior. Why Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions the crane, Bakasura, as a duplicitous behavior? Because we see that it is generally the crane which stands in one leg in a small swamp or a river, stands in one leg, closing its eyes halfway, and steadfastly stands in one leg. Somebody sees a crane, they will believe that this is a Mahayogi. Very steadfast, standing in one leg, half closed, the eyes, always meditating. Seems like this is a very great yogi. Shows a great meditative posture. But as soon as it sees the fish which is slowly swimming at its feet, What does the crane do? It immediately takes out its long beak, forks out the fish and swallows it whole. So the fishes are considered as sense objects, and the crane's beaks are considered as the mind which is interested in dwelling in those sense objects. While exterior wise, it is indicating that it is a great yogi. So this is called as duplicitousness or dupliciousness, pretentiousness, or a pretender. So here Bakasura also was standing there in the disguise of a crane with the intent which was to kill Krishna and his devotees. And that is considered as a duplicit act, duplicit behavior. So the appearance that Bakasura had was totally not matching his real substance or the intent for which he was actually standing there. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is actually explaining in his commentary that how Bakasur is standing for duplicity. In fact, he did a full study of each and every demon and he categorized them into different buckets. Oh, Putana is for this. Dhenukasur is for laziness. Also like that, there is a detailed analysis of each and every demon who came. Now, somebody might ask, why is this gross generalization of divine pastimes into common understanding elements? You understand? We should see the pastimes in the pastime way. Why are we trying to find it and find allegories to, cunningness, deceitfulness? We ask this question quite often. And for this, once Chaitanya Charan Prabhu gave a very nice example. Once going to Cambridge University, and while going to Cambridge University, he saw an apple tree which was next to Cambridge. And a lot of people were coming next to the apple tree and taking photographs and taking selfies. And he asked, why is this apple tree so famous? They said that it is the same apple tree below which Newton sat. The apple fell on his head. Some people say the apple fell in front of him, not on his head. And based on just noticing how the apple fell, he discovered gravity, the law of gravity. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu wrote very nicely in that article. He mentioned that how simplistic activities in the universe, if they are deeply observed, they can give you deep meanings. I repeat, if simplistic activities in the universe are deeply observed by people who are tuned and who are excellent in their intelligence, can give deep meanings. So though it was always existing, gravity, nobody was speaking about it, this person just saw apple fall and discovered gravity. Of course, in the Vedic science, it is mentioned much before, but credit to Newton. He actually saw this and wrote this and became, in popular science, he became as the person who discovered or invented gravity. So if he is so famous, then we should also give glorifications equally to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Why? Because he is taking the pastimes, this grandeur of pastimes, and breaking it down and giving us very simple logics of how we can understand. So for people who are Vimudhatma, who do not access Srimad Bhagavatam in that best way, how can we present Bhagavatam even to them? That is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is doing. And he's telling that Bakasura stands for duplicit behavior. Putana stands for this behavior. Dhenukasura stands for this behavior. So that people like us who are in those behaviors, who are facing that as at the sadhaka level, at the kanishta level, can relate to these pastimes at their levels and slowly go up. And how do we go up? This is also to be understood in a very nice way. Please consider this like a y-axis, the axis. From the negative numbers, you go to 0, and from 0, you go to positive. So the Vedas, they actually mention to us that how we should not be irreligious in nature. They don't talk much about the spiritual sky, living in the spiritual sky. No. They generally say, don't be very material, be religious in nature. So this is like going from negative to zero. The Upanishads go one step further. The Upanishads mention that if you are interested in religious life, please understand that you should go to heaven and higher planetary systems, because there you can continue your religiosity without lot of issues and you can live for a very long time. So the Upanishads mention from zero, it tells you the neutral plane. Then the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya Charitamrita, they take you higher towards the positive plane of spiritual life. They say that even in the heavenly planets, you will face difficulty. Ajiva bhuvana loka punaravartino Arjuna mamupetyanta kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. Why don't you develop devotional service and go and eternally be happy? Then it goes on the higher plane. But look at Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is at that plane, who has understood transcendence, is telling about the substance of that transcendence, and is talking about the appearance of Bakasura, and is actually giving us in a very dumbed down version of understanding Damba or pretentiousness or Dhonga. So this is actually done by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we should be glorifying such acharyas. And at what time? During the 19th, 20th century. During the 20th century, in 1800s and 1900s, he is doing this. This is very, very glorious. So Bakasura was trying to swallow up Krishna. And what did Krishna do? Krishna heated up his body. The Jata Agni. Krishna can do this. Not only Krishna, many devotees can do this. We see Dhritarashtra immolating himself in fire. We see Sati burning herself in fire, creating fire from fire. We saw the son of Sagara, the Kapil, he being burned to ashes when he goes to search for Ganges from the fire that emanates from the thigh of the sage. So these are possible to emanate, create the body which too much of heat. And Krishna is Yogeshwara. He just heated up his body, and so much that Baka could not swallow Krishna. He found like a hot, fiery ball in his mouth. And generally, when we drink something which is too hot, what we generally do, we generally spit it out. We cannot swallow. We take a hot gulab jamuns and we cannot bite. We immediately take it back in the spoon and put it back in the katori because we can't swallow. And that's what Bakasura did. He immediately spit out Krishna. And Krishna landed on his two legs, took with his hands, which you can see as a picture behind me, he just broke open the beaks of the crane, Bakasura, and showed his duplicit nature. This is what Krishna did. And this is glorified. This act of killing duplicitness is glorified. Krishna wants to send us a message that we cannot be duplicit. Because what will happen if we are duplicit? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, but he will not even see the face of that person. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I don't even want to see the face of the person who is duplicit in nature. So if Krishna is not going to see our face, what is the reason of our existence? Who will save us? Who will really protect us? This is a question to be asked. In fact, this glorious pastime is also compared in one of the shlokas of Tiruppavai, the 13th shlokas, which Andal says very beautifully. She says, Pullinvai kidanaipa pollarkanai killik kidandanai kirtimai paadippoi pillaigal ellarum pavai kalampukar velli ezhundu vaazha murangittu. She says, Pullinvai kidappanai. She says that just like you broke Krishna, you actually broke the beak of Bakasura. She's knocking on the doors of one of the gopis in Vrindavan, which she believes in Srivaliputtur. She's knocking on the doors and she's singing these praises. Let's go and see Krishna who broke the beak of Bakasura. And that girl inside who is sleeping is saying, why are you talking like this? What did he do? She said, you don't know? He killed the dupliciousness, which is there in the heart, the pretentiousness, which is there in the heart. Why are you pretending to sleep? Get up during Mangalarti time and come and see Krishna. So she's using that allegory of pretentiousness on the girl, saying, why are you sleeping? Why are you pretending to sleep? because we know you are not an ordinary woman. You're pretending to sleep because you have seen Krishna in the night. So she's saying like that. And then she says, do you see Lord Ramchandra? You can see the photo behind. This Ramchandra also did the same thing. He just pinched the leaves like a gardener. When he enters a garden, he finds out that there are some leaves which are invested by fungus. And there is some fungal growth which is affecting the buds and the fruits and everything. And so what did he do? He just plucked them and threw it aside. In fact, she's saying, like that, he plucked each head of Ravana, the 10 heads, and he just plucked. So you see in the photograph behind Lord Ramchandra, and the leaves are like Lord Ramchandra is plucking the leaves of Ravan. I can show you the photo very nicely. It is painted by Keshav. In fact, it's very wonderful to meditate on this picture. In fact, if you will see very closely, you can see that how the leaves are like the heads. So Lord Ramchandra has also plucked out these leaves, and this parrot is like none other than the scriptures. So the scriptures also pluck out the weeds which are there in our heart. Also the scripture, which is like the parrot, Shukadev Goswami, Srimad Bhagavatam, plucks out and kills the duplicit behavior which keeps us in the deep sleep of Maya. So Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj says, if you want to be duplicit, you can be duplicit with only one person, and that is Maya. If you want to kick Maya, you have to be duplicit with Maya, not with Krishna and his devotees. One should be duplicit with Maya, saying to Maya, yes, I will enjoy you. Just this, this 16 rounds. Just this 16 rounds. After that, I'll enjoy with you. In this way, Gaur Govind Maharaj says that we should be duplicit with Maya. So very beautifully, this is all being explained in the pastime of Bakasur. And Andal is actually remembering this pastime. And why she is mentioning all this about deceitness and duplicit behavior and all of this is because she says, as the duplicit behavior grows, it turns into pride and ego. And ego is a representation of Ravana. He also in deceit, took Mother Sita away. He acted as a great sage and came to Panchavati and picked Mother Sita, kidnapped Mother Sita, and flew off to Lanka. So this was also deceit. And this happens at the back of pretentiousness. So Ravana pretended himself first to be a sage, and his ego was high, and his ego caused his downfall. So that is why, away from ego, away from pretentiousness, what should we have? We should have simplicity in our character. So this question is being asked to the snake charmer. Now back to the story. And this is a very great subject matter. Why? Why did you act differently to Haridas Thakur, and why did you act differently to the pseudo Brahmana? And the serpent lord, through the mouth of the snake charmer, is going to speak now. And he says, what you have asked to me is a very mysterious subject. Although it is very confidential, I must disclose it. So in reply, Anantadeva, who was situated within the body of the snake charmer, spoke to everyone through the mouth of the snake charmer. Now please listen. Anantadev is going to talk about the great mysterious subject. It is not very clearly understood. And he's going to say, and he's saying, I will certainly explain everything to you in detail. So what is he going to say? You all felt great reverence for Haridas when you saw his ecstatic dance. And he says, seeing this, that pseudo Brahmana fell to the ground in an envious imitation of Haridas Thakur. So he was not happy that who has the power to enviously disturb the pleasure of my dancing? So here a very great tattva is being mentioned. How merciful is Anantadev, who comes as a spiritual master to correct our mistakes. We just saw in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Antya Leela, in the 117th verse, that if we are duplicit in nature, Krishna will never see our face. But who will come to rescue even if we have duplicit behavior? Guru will come to the rescue. He will take a stick and beat us up till we realize our mistakes. Why? Because once we improve, then Krishna will see us. This is the job of Nitai. This is the job of Guru. This is the job of Balram. This is the job of Anand Shesh. That he comes and beat us up. He will tweak our ear and make us leave our pretentiousness. In fact, this similar kind of pastime was exhibited in our movement as well. In New York during early days, when they were in the Matchless Gift small shop, they used to have kirtans. And in the kirtans, once an Indian gentleman came and he saw that all these foreign devotees, Gargamuni Prabhu and everybody, Pavananda Prabhu, everybody was dancing. And they were dancing, and all these white-skinned devotees were dancing. He got very excited. He started rolling on the floor as if he's in ecstasy. He was rolling on that small Matchless Gift shore. And they did not know what to do, whether to stop him. They did not know whether it was true. They heard from Srila Prabhupada that great people roll on the floor in ecstatic symptoms. They did not know whether he was in ecstasy, he was not in ecstasy. They did not know. So they said, Gargamuni Prabhu or somebody else, they said that, why don't you go and call Srila Prabhupada? So at that time, I think Prabhupada was in Los Angeles. So they made a phone call and Prabhupada answered the call. And they said, Prabhupada, there is a gentleman on the floor rolling. Imagine, you're getting a phone call. We are doing kirtan and there is a person rolling on the floor. It seems like he's in ecstatic symptoms. What should we do? Prabhupada said, when he rolls next to your leg, give him a nice kick. And if he's really in ecstatic symptoms, he will hold your leg, say Hare Krishna, and keep rolling. If he gives some foul-mouthed tirade back to you, then please continue your chanting. And that is what happened. The devotees gave a nice kick. This person got out, gave all the bad words to the devotees. Why is he hurting them? And walked away. So this was pretentiousness which was caught by Srila Prabhupada. So who makes this correction when we are wrong? It is Srila Prabhupada. It is the Acharyas. It is Anand Shesh. And here, Anand Shesh is saying, he was disturbing my dancing. And out of audacity, he tried to imitate Haridas, who is Nam Acharya. Therefore, I only punished him accordingly. So who corrects a Sahajiya with the right attitude, behavior? Who exhibits this? An Acharya does. And Anand Shesh is doing that here. So even though our appearance is incorrect, bringing it back to the real substance and showing the world what is transcendence is being exhibited in this pastime. So the appearance was incorrect, but the substance is really being spoken by Anand Shesh and is guiding us to a path towards transcendence. And he's showing how Haridas Thakur is, by appearance, by substance, is always in the mood of transcendence. So he is giving the reason, the snake charmer, he's saying the pseudo-Brahmana, he presented himself as an important person. He imitated religious sentiments. And actually that arrogant and deceitful Brahmana, and he's passing this very clearly. Here, this is where he mentions the mention I said, Ado drishtir nakirtaha swartha sadhana tatparaha bhakavrata parodvijaha. An imposter Brahmana, the follower of Bhakavrata. We just spoke about Bhakavrata. We just spoke about Bakasur. This is where Anand Shesh and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is mentioning that how duplicit behavior is seen in this Bhakavrata. And he's saying that that has no love for Krishna. To achieve the devotional service of Lord Krishna, one has to be free from duplicity. So this is very, very important. So I will not finish the next 6 verses. It's just hurrying it up, but we will stop here at this particular point. So today's summary that I would like to say is the simplicity, saralata. Simplicity is the most important ornament for devotional service. That is something that we should be yearning to achieve. We should be cultivating. And how do we achieve this? By being with devotees who are non-envious, who are practicing simplicity. By having more sophisticated elements of sense objects, simplicity is lost. That is why we see sages and others recluse of owning a lot of sense objects. Of course, we do learn utility is the principle, but before using the verse of utility is the principle, we should learn the manual of utility very, very clearly. We should map our utilitarian needs out of that sense object very clearly, which will help us to remain deep-rooted in simplicity. We should be away from duplicit behavior. We should be never duplicit in front of our guru, and we should allow our guru to tweak our ears. Books are a great source of Vani, not Vapu, but we need Vapu as well. We need the physical presence, because book will not tweak our ears, it will tweak our intelligence. But Vapu means there is somebody who can physically tweak our ears and make us learn about devotional subject matter. So in today's verse, the pseudo Brahmana is beaten black and blue by none other than the snake charmer, in whose body is Ananshesh, who is acting like a guru and telling us to the whole world what is right, what is wrong, which is his duty. And he is making all of us capable to see Krishna face to face. So our appearance might be incorrect, but we have to slowly understand our substance, which is to be non-duplicit in nature, non-pretentious in nature, non-egoistic in nature, non-hypocritical in nature, non-cheating mentality should be there, and non-imitative behavior should be practiced. This is what is being depicted according to my limited understanding in this pastime. Thank you very much. Yadastras kalitam kinchit vidpam sat purayantu tat yadastat saushtubam kinchit tat guru reva menahi. I seek all your blessings to correct the mistakes which might have been made in this rendition of Chaitanya Bhagavat. You're all senior Vaishnavas. You can correct, provide feedbacks. And if you found something which is nice, it all belongs to my Gurujanas, God brothers, senior God disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and all others from whom I have learnt. And I pray unto all the Vaishnavas and the Vaishnavis that please bless me so that I can continue squashing this pretentious behavior and duplicit behavior deep-rooted in the heart. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Chaitanya Bhagavat ki jai. If anybody has any questions, comments, critiques, feedbacks, happy to hear them, happy to answer them if I can. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a beautiful class. Very nice class, instructive class, lot of lessons that we learned from today's class. So I have one question, Prabhuji. So you are saying duplicity is not good, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna does not see us. But when you say all these pastimes, everywhere, wherever you are describing the duplicity nature, I could see myself in there. And how do I come out of that nature? Or how do, means how do I solve this? Even though I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, you said that, you tell to Maya your 16 rounds, and then you try to be duplicit to your Maya, but then I'm doing my 16 rounds, I'm doing everything, but still this duplicity nature is still there in with me. How do I get encouraged myself and continue my sadhana? At the same time, always be scared that, if we are doing like this, then we will get into trouble. And at the same time, I should not get even discouraged, right? That, okay, I'm practicing Krishna consciousness all these years, but still I'm not able to go, then I may get discouraged. Oh, where I am, right? I'm little worried about that situation. I don't know if I put my question properly or not. Hare Krishna.
So, in the words of His Holiness Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj, he says that we still hold on to duplicity if we expect something out of this material world at a very high level. Of course, at the sadhaka level, I'll try to answer. We still hold on to duplicity because we want something from the material world. It's like comfort zone. We would like to get Krishna, but at the same time, if somebody tells us tomorrow that you have to move into a small one studio kitchen and you have to manage yourself and you have to practice social service, it's very difficult. I'm not saying that artificial renunciation is not what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is that we have got certain mental conditions that we hold on to, and we will like to hold on to, even if sometimes in the name of comfort, in the name of sense objects being attached to what we are. So in that sense, it is mentioned that it's not really, we are not being very truthful to Krishna, but we are still improving. We cannot just snap the fingers and say, from tomorrow, I would immediately become simple and simple living and high thinking. No, it's not possible. So how do we do this? We take practical guidance. The first step is to be with simple devotees and observe them. We cannot inculcate a behavior unless we observe, we see, we practice, put it into practice, cultivate it, get private victories in our heart, and understand, yes, this is more relishable. We will only leave bad things when we get good things. So for us to understand simplicity is better is when we observe devotees who are simple in nature. And many devotees are asking this question, what is simplicity? Simplicity means having simple goals in life. My existence is for Krishna's pleasure. My existence is for devotees' pleasure. All my activities that I will do in life will be centered around Krishna and his devotees. If anything is in the context of non-devotion, I will try to avoid. Being very simplistic in lifestyle, in thought process, in aspirations, in ambitions, in living those life can all attribute to simplicity. Highest goals, simplest of executions in the simplest of the methods. So the first step is to be with devotees who are simple in nature. Second step is to serve them and observe their simplicity. And slowly it is so contagious that we also try to see within ourselves and we slowly remove all the duplicit nature that we have. When we see that simple people get the highest of the rewards, which we try to achieve through duplicit means, we will naturally leave duplicity. And as I said, it's moving from minus to zero to positive. So we are duplicious because we want to move to zero. We will get something between minus and zero. So we are trying to be duplicit. But when we see that simplicity takes you to plus, we'll naturally leave the minus. So this is the grade. So we associate with simple devotees. We sincerely pray to Krishna. We ask Guru how to be simple. And we always deep-rootedly are ready to serve others. These tendencies will kill the duplicity in the heart. And we should be open to our Guru. And we should be open to say that this is the problem I'm facing. Kindly help me. So these are some practical ways by which we can overcome duplicit nature.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for that answer. Very grateful to you. So there are some questions in the chat. I think some of that you have already answered.
Let me go one by one. Hare Krishna. What is substance? So here in this context, substance means that a person with good devotional character. So which the pseudo Brahmana, which he tried to imitate that he is a person of substance, of devotion, but and he is a person who is Brahmanical in nature. Both were not present in him. But what I wanted to say is that by appearance, Haridas Thakur was simple and a pure Mahabhagavata. By substance, he was a Mahabhagavata. And of course, he was always on the transcendence plane. So a person who is transcendent will appear and will be full of substance, which is Krishna, is what I wanted to mention. Is it spiritual qualities which affiliate or bhakti or devotional mood? Yes, that's true. It is that. Thank you, Dhanashri Mataji. Hope that your health is also getting well, and hope all the throat problems are gone when we remember about the Bakasura pastimes. Hare Krishna. Which are facilitate bhakti devotional mood? Yes. Parameshwari Radha Mataji, how do we understand simplicity? So, simplicity, as I said, is understood by very keeping our goals very, very simple. That our existence in this material world is to please Krishna and devotees. And being simple in topics that we choose to speak, being simple in interested in doing simplistic activities in devotional service like chanting, reading, association, having a simple lifestyle, not enforced, but simple lifestyle, which should come naturally from us. It's not that 2024, I will start having a resolution that I will live simply and suddenly I leave a 3 BHK house and go and stay in a thatched roof. That is not very helpful. We should have a very organic way of simplifying our lives, abstaining from things which make our life very increasingly complex. We can have simple food, simple clothing, not dwell too much of our time into expanding our needs, but focusing with the needs that we have to the vision. One can expand their needs. I can give you a very simple example on this. Suppose somebody wants to read Bhagavad Gita. I had met some devotees before, then they want to read Bhagavad Gita, they want to be very systematically reading. So they invested some $200 on a software where it can capture notes and it can write notes and you can make detailed notes. It's good. But after 1 month, they found that exercise to be too cumbersome that they left reading Bhagavad Gita in itself. So the intent was to read it very scrutinizingly, but the method was not simple to adopt. It looked a gargantuan effort just to flip the pages and read. So the simplest of sometimes is having a pen and a paper and writing down on a pen and a paper and writing notes. It's the simplest of mechanisms, and it helps us in retention. So all these are simple methods sometimes, and it could differ from person to person, and it can help. So one need not expand their needs to grow in devotional service. One can be focused, single point, laser pointed focus, and one can have the whatever needs they have and whatever they have achieved, they can utilize that and go towards Krishna. It's a very practical way of looking at simplicity, I would say. And simplicity in speech, clothing, articulation, topics, association. These are attributes which I would say as simplicity. Any other questions? Any other comments, feedbacks? More than welcome, I hope. There's one more. Karpagalli Mataji from Kanyakumari. She says, Hare Krishna, Chaitanya Bhagavat similar to Srimad Bhagavatam? No, yes. So Chaitanya Bhagavat is the book written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and the commentary that we are reading is of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, or is the commentary which we are reading of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, who is none other than Krishna, who came 500 years ago. Srimad Bhagavatam is the book which is given to us there's a narration between Shukadeva Goswami, who is the son of Vedvyasa, and Parikshit Maharaj, who was cursed, who is the grandson of the Pandavas, and who is cursed to die in 7 days. So both the books are different, but both the books are speaking about different incarnations. One is principally speaking about Krishna in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Bhagavat is speaking about the elaborate pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is non-different from Krishna, who came 500 years ago. So in short, that would be the differentiation. But there are many parallel tattvas between both the books and Vedic literature, which we try to bring it up in these lectures. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, Kirtida Sundari Mataji, your hand is up. Please go ahead. Dandavad Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. And as you nicely explained about simplicity, that saralta hi Vaishnavta hai. And I really like the point about the duplicitous nature that you talked about practically in the entire class, that how it's also one of the anartha that can be used in Krishna's service. Just like lust, anger, greed.
Yes.
Simply, so similarly, even duplicitous nature can be used when we use it against Maya.
Maya.
Like
Yes.
just like Haridas Thakur, when he was there with Laksha Hira, he was telling that, let me chant my prescribed number of rounds, I'll enjoy you.
Yes.
So that was a nice point. And Prabhu, behind you, there is a picture. One is, of course, Bakasura, then
Yes.
Lord Ramachandra, parrot, and one is Krishna.
Yeah.
Can you explain that? And
So-
how is it, who is lying down on his lap? Is Srimati Radharani or another girl?
So in the Tirupavai pastimes, this is a depiction of Tirupavai of the 13th Pasuram, which I spoke about.
Oh,
so the
okay,
little
about
girl
the Andal.
Of the Andal. The little girl who is standing here, which you see, if I move a little towards my left.
Towards
So I
your
can-
right. Towards your
Yes,
right.
towards my right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Now
So
it's
the little girl who is standing here is next to the door is Andal. In fact, I can show you the picture itself. Wait a second.
So the pastime that you were sharing, that she knocked the door
Yeah.
and she said that you are pretending to sleep.
Yes, this is the same
Oh,
pastime. So
this is the same pastime.
she's at the door. She's saying that she's knocking the doors and she's trying to wake up each of the gopis in Srivilliputturu. This is in 8th century, but she believes Srivilliputturu is none other than Ayarpadi or Vrindavan. So she transports herself into Vrindavan and she's knocking on each of these doors, and these are gopis. So this is a very, very secretive pastime in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, where they are slowly entering and talking about the Madhurya Rasa, but they keep it very hidden. They don't want to break the Sampradaya. So she's saying to this girl that you are sleeping inside, you're pretending yourself to sleep. But actually, she's a very big Mahabhagavata. She's a very great devotee. And she has got the union, or she has been with Krishna in the night, and she's tired and she's sleeping. But Andal wants to take association with her. And she says, you are such a great you're such a great devotee, and you have seen Krishna, you have slept on his lap. Why don't you come outside and give us association so that we also get Krishna? So she is walking towards the temple and she's telling these pastimes that, why are you still sleeping? You are with Krishna who killed Bakasur. So stop this duplicitous or pretension of sleep. But she's actually mentioning about pretension of Bakasur, pretension of Ravana. She's indicating that, and she's saying, oh, lady, please wake up and please give us association.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Such a deep meaning. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you, Prabhu.
thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments?
Krishna, thank you
Yes.
so much. The entire
Thank
class
you.
was beautiful, very moving.
Thank you.
Fortunate to be hearing this, very meditative. Thank you very much for the association.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you once again for such a beautiful class, and we look forward for your association again and again in this Sangha. We were missing you a lot, Prabhuji. Your classes are always very nice. So I would like to offer my obeisances to you and all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Haridas Varya Prabhuji ki jai.
Yay.
Right.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Dandavad pranam.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Prabhuji.
Dandavad
Koti Dandavad Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for ending the